everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we kick things off, I would like to give a bit of a context around this. Real estate is the largest asset class in the world. It roughly amounts to around $380 billion globally. And BCG is estimating that tokenized assets could reach around $16 trillion by 2030. And nowhere is this moving faster than in Dubai. Just last year, Dubai's real estate market crossed 760 billion dirhams in transactions. And DLD is estimating that around 7% of the market could be on-chain by 2023. Today, we'll dig deeper into this and about what's actually being built. So joining me today are three people who are doing the work, not just talking about it. First, we have Joseph from Prypco. Prypco worked with the Dubai Land Department on the first real estate tokenization project of its kind anywhere in the world. And their first property sold out in minutes. And I'd say that they're really setting the standard of what consumer-facing tokenized estate looks like in the region. Next, we have Travis Wright. He's the Chief Innovation and Web3 Marketing Officer at MultiBank. MultiBank is one of the largest financial derivatives institutions globally, and they've just put together what's been called one of the biggest RWA real estate tokenization deals, a $3 billion partnership with MAC to tokenize luxury properties. And then we have Robert Farquhar from Ctrl Alt. Ctrl Alt is the team building a lot of the actual infrastructure behind tokenization in the UAE. So let's kick off. I think first, Joseph, we'll start with you. Can you tell me a bit, like a quick anchor for the room, what is it that you're doing today in terms of RW tokenization? What is your team focusing on? Just give us a quick anchor.
Yeah, thank you so much, and hello everyone. My name is Joseph Elham. I'm the general manager for Prypco, and at Prypco, our core mission essentially is to provide real estate freedom for all, and more precisely, to provide direct ownership in real estate, whether it's tokenization, financing, buying or selling real estate. Now, what we've done in the past couple of months, actually, with real estate tokenization, is we moved an RWA, or actually physical tangible property, and we've put it on chain. And we've done that with the help of obviously Ctrl Alt and the Land Department and VARA. And it's all actually to democratize access to real estate, make it much faster, make it more accessible. The ownership, which is directly sitting with the individual, with the investor, make it also possibly more liquid, as well as obviously the next and future steps are to present it to the wider audience and to the international investors.
Very nice. First of all, thank you for having us today. This is a great conversation. Great conference here. You know, it was a shame that Token 2049 had to go, but here we are. And thank you for everyone for showing up. I am the Chief Innovation Officer for MultiBank Group, and then actually now the Chief Web 4 Officer for MBIO, working closely with Alex Davis right there and Sam of Maverick, and we've done some really great partnerships on, tokenizing the future. And, if you look at the total space, we're looking at $900 trillion of worldwide assets that's going to hit $1 quadrillion over the course of the next probably decade. And most of those are going to be tokenized, right? Stocks are going to be tokenized. Real estate, we're already seeing this being tokenized. Partnerships, joint ventures, all these things are happening. And so I moved from Kansas City in the United States here 6 months ago because I saw the vision of what was happening. I see TradFi world meeting the DeFi world, meeting the RWA world. That is huge. And so that's why we're here, and that's why I have this role, because I think that, I believe in the space. I've been in crypto. I mined Bitcoin in 2010, right? I see this is where we're heading, and we're in it. It's already. And with AI doing its thing, this is interesting times, folks.
Thank you very much. So yeah, a lot of good points there raised already. So I won't bore everyone too much by repeating. I think one thing that we do and we focus on, and I think it's resonated across this panel here and hopefully the wider room, is tokenizing things in a manner which actually means something. So I think a lot of the time we talk about RWAs, we talk about tokenization. It's a token which is something. It's not really tangible. think we do a lot of structuring of an asset where there's a lot of legal work that goes behind it, there's a lot of regulatory work that goes behind it, so that when we create tokens, those tokens are legally sound and legally backed by that asset. And that's why when we started working with DLD and with Prypco, we do that infrastructure layer of ensuring that every single token that Prypco are trading, the title deed is moving alongside that token. So Joseph said the term direct tokenization, and it's one that I think doesn't get talked about enough. It's where we can say, when you purchase that ARVA, when you see that token move from your wallet to someone else's wallet, it's not just a token and there's a contract behind it, or there's a smart contract, there's whatever. There's an actual change at government registry. And Dubai is definitely the first place in the world to do this, to bring this into a live environment. It's massively exciting. I think there's many, many other countries which are now looking at this and copying what we're doing here. And that's why we're all in a big push to keep innovating, to keep driving forwards, to make sure that Dubai is at the forefront of what we can do in tokenization.
And leading from that, Robert, I would like to ask you about, there's different jurisdictions and everyone wants to position themselves as the global hub for tokenization. But what do you think Dubai is doing differently than, let's say, Singapore, or New York, Hong Kong? Where's the edge that Dubai has that we're seeing today?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, Singapore is a prime example. We got MAS, and it does a lot of really, really good things. They've had a really good structure there for a long period. There's a lot of pilots. There's a lot of doing something, having an idea, does it work, POCs. Dubai moves past that. So we go to government. I mean, like Ctrl and Prypco, we went to government 2 years ago now when we started wanting to do this. And it's a meeting with the government to say, we think this works. Our meeting, at the end of it, they're like, go ahead, design it. Let's start implementing it. You don't get that anywhere else in the world. Like the government here, the regulator here, everything lines up to deliver tangible projects which actually can move into a live environment. That is, without a doubt, the biggest thing, is the environment.
Travis, would you like to add to that? I would want your perspective on that.
You know, Singapore is a really interesting place. I mean, but it's mostly built. There's no extra land that they can go unless they want to try to, create their own little Palm Island or something and try to dredge the ocean, right? There's not more Singapore land, so like they're going to reach their capacity. And here in the UAE, there's a lot of undeveloped stuff here. So I think that, there's so much growth. I did research on this. I don't know if it's 100% or not, but I heard that there was 291 skyscraper projects being built in the UAE or being built in Dubai, and of those, there was like X percentage of them are like over 300 meters, but it was like 34 of them are going to be over 500 meters or something. It was just crazy. And then like 8 of them are going to be over 700 meters. I'm like, what? Like, this is insane. And don't quote me on those numbers, but I know something's close on that. Somebody can quant it up for me. But I was like, oh my goodness. And you can tell there's just buildings built everywhere. So I've not seen anything like this. I mean, and I worked in Silicon Valley. I've been all over so many countries, and there's not any place like Dubai. It's like we are living in the future, and we're here already, and the rest of the world hasn't figured out how to catch up yet.
Yeah, fair point. Would you like to add anything? I would like to get your perspective from the retail side of it, because I know Prypco services a lot of retail customers.
Of course, but actually I want to give or tell you guys a little story, if you don't mind, actually echoing what Robert has mentioned. So we've been working with Dubai Land Department, Enviro, and obviously Ctrl and the rest of the parties for quite some time to get this project underway. And just before Eid in 2025, we were all sitting in a very big boardroom, literally central bank, VAR, DLD, ourselves, Ctrl, and we were like, okay, when are we going to take this live? And then the Land Department said, on the 25th of May, 2025, you're going to take this live. That was like in 3 months' time. And every single person in that room did everything possible to get the technology up and ready, the licenses up and ready, the banks up and ready. I've never seen anyone, especially from the governments all over the world, working on a weekend, working during public holidays. My wedding was 1 week after the launch, by the way, so you can imagine my wife, how excited she was during that process. To take the project up and live and ready. And it's all about getting governments, regulators, and private entities aligned on a single goal and mission, and nothing will stop you. And that's literally, Dubai is the only place where you can see that.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you on that. Now coming back to this, you're talking about the DLD pilot, and it started off as one property, and I know we're building momentum around that, right? But what do you see as the hurdles or where the challenges, I would say, between now and doing this at scale, like 1,000 properties at the same time? What do you have to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, the pilot was 10 properties. Yeah. We've done the first one. It was funded in about 24 hours. We had 0 clients, so it was 24 hours. The second one was funded in about 2 minutes, 1 minute and 56 seconds to be precise. And every single property after that was actually funded within a couple of minutes. And then every single property that we were putting on the platform, we were learning from it. We were also teaching and educating all the third parties that were involved in the project as well, because you need to remember something. Yes, you're tokenizing a property, but there's a lot of work that happens in the background that is not tokenized. You cannot tokenize the seller. The seller is an individual person that you need to sign a contract with. They need to be educated on how tokenization works. You cannot tokenize DIWA. That the property still needs to have electricity and water. There is still a lot of process that happens pre-funding, post-funding that needs to be addressed, needs to be educated to the third party. And we've done that throughout the entire 10 properties, and we went back to the land department and also with Ctrl, and we shared the feedback, what went wrong, what went right, and then you start building from there, right? And we're at the stage right now where, yes, we can start funding more and more properties. We've built a framework where we can get more players to come and participate in the pilot. And tokenization is here today. 5 years down the line, there might be a new technology. I don't know. But that is going to actually bring us to the scale of 1,000 properties, learning every step of the way, and obviously keep sharing and building together, right? At the end of the day, this is the space that's very open, very big for everyone to participate. We're very proud to be the company that has kind of put the vision of Dubai on the map, but we're building for everyone to be part of the framework.
Great. Robert, can you add something to that from the infrastructure side?
Yeah, sure. And I think this goes down to vision. So what we did is we didn't build a platform where DLD has to go in and key in some details every time something gets tokenized. We worked with Erez, the tech arm of DLD, and we integrated directly into them. So whenever Prypco send us any trades, whenever anything goes through in Prypco, comes through to us, it runs through the logic, the governance, which is all agreed between us, between DLD, and then gets sent into government, and then automatically, assuming that all those checks are complete, which they all get run in advance, comes back. So we can transfer legally a title deed in a few seconds. It also means when DLD want to scale the project and they want to hit these 1,000, because inshallah Prypco hit 1,000 a month, but I think operationally Joseph would not like that. I think when you start hitting, now you have additional distributors, they actually don't need to do much. They're integrated into Ctrl-Alt, and then we run all of that. The logic that we've already built into the government means you can just replicate and you can do more and more. So then you can have companies which are specializing in residential properties. You can have some that are specializing in commercial properties. You can do some that are specializing in land development. Ultimately, all of the APIs, all of the linkage, all of the logic is already built. So this is a very scalable solution as Dubai starts to move forwards. Now, we work in a lot of different countries. It's not unique, but it's definitely rare to see a government do this, because what they want to do is zero tech work. They want us to do all the tech work, they want distributors to do all the tech work, and they just want to be getting an update, and they'll do something manually in with their own systems. DLD did the work early days, even when we were talking about doing one property, so that it was scalable. So definitely set up for success here.
Right. And you did mention you're working in other jurisdictions as well. So just to get a bit of understanding on how other jurisdictions are taking this, you said some of them are trying to copy what we've done here in Dubai. But do you see the same system scaling out there, especially with the tokenized title deed? A lot of jurisdictions have a different viewpoint on that. So
Yeah. So it's we see a couple of different main examples. One which is like a straight copy of what we did in DRD in Dubai, and that's very similar to what they're doing in Saudi. We see one that's really interesting, which is where they don't actually look to build blockchain and the land registry. They move the land registry on chain. So we always have a little bit of a conflict at the moment where we talk about land registry versus blockchain. What's golden source? Because everyone in this room, blockchain is golden source. It's immutable, it's transparent, it's entirely accurate. You know exactly where you stand. A government is never going to say their own records are not golden source. So we just have two golden sources. So some other countries are saying, actually, we just want blockchain viewer, and we're just going to build our logic around that blockchain viewer, and blockchain is our land registry, and that becomes like super exciting. A bit further off though.
Okay.
Let me add something on that, because it's really interesting, because these are essentially digital deeds, right? And so now we can fractionalize things in ways that's never been available for the retail customer. And one of the things that we've been thinking about, especially with the guys from the Maverick side of things, is the World Economic Forum, they were always talking about, the year 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And we're like, how are you going to own nothing and be happy? I think what's going to actually happen, and you can see what's happening here in Dubai, is I think people have the opportunity to own a little bit of everything. You can own a little bit of this, own a little bit of that, fractionalize this. You don't have to have, if the Louvre came out and said, we're going to fractionalize ownership of the Mona Lisa right now, and somebody wanted to buy 1/1,000,000th of the Mona Lisa, guess what? I'm pretty sure they would sell out, right? I mean, so the fractionalization of everything is very interesting. And what I think it's the precursor to this, I mean, NFTs got such a bad rap because they are just kind of cheesy cartoons, but this space would not exist. RWAs would not exist without that very first proof of NFTs being able to tokenize things. And we can, there was 10,000 in this set, and you can fractionalize owner. Wow. Well, you take that, and we saw it immediately. We're like, look, these are cheesy NFTs for cartoons and digital images, but everyone has a phone. We don't need to go to a bank anymore. And when we start tokenizing things, and we're talking about stock tokenization really early and some of these other things, we are here now. And so that, what I think is that, the first people who got into crypto, they were the believers, right? We were talking to the believers. Now what's happening is we're marketing to the skeptics, the people who didn't get into it, and they go, okay, I actually understand what this means. I'm going to own a piece of the Burj Khalifa. Oh man, that would be amazing. I'll buy some of that, right? And so when these buildings are being built, the new Benghazi buildings and the other things, like, that's impressive, and that's where those next, billion investors are, is it's mom and pops who buying a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and especially once we get it figured out where it can have some liquidity, right? You need to have some liquidity with this so they can get out of it when they want, but that's a new thing. But I think that it's really huge. You can't have RWAs without where we've been. We've already gone, the pioneers and the trailblazers have gotten all the arrows, and here we are now, and it's kind of settling a bit.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. And then moving on, Joseph, this one's for you. Coming onto this as a lawyer, I would really like to get your perspective on where do you think the regulations are working in your favor, and where do you think there's still some clarity that you would need, or some building upon on the regulations that you would like to see?
No, actually, we lived right in the moment of a regulatory change when we launched the pilot. And literally a couple of weeks after launching the pilot, Vara have updated their rulebook and made an ARVA token mandatory to be part of the pilot framework. And actually, Ctrl and ourselves spend a lot of time building this new framework and bringing the ARVA tokens into the pilot program. And that's what we expect from regulators, like always being up to date. Actually, and specifically Vara, to always be the front runner of building new regulations. And you won't see this anywhere else in the world, like, because they were the first and only ones actually to bring this regulations up to light. And that's what we expect from our regulator, to always kind of innovate, bring something new, and keep us obviously within kind of the loop, and us as kind of the parties involved in the project work towards kind of building these frameworks, but most importantly protecting client assets and client money, because that's our best interest at the end of the day, making sure client money is the most secure. And yeah, anything you want to add, Robert, on regulations, since you also regulated?
I was asked a question on the regulations earlier, and I declined to comment on that one. First thing I did was see who was in the room there.
Right.
I made sure no one from Vara is here.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is anyone here from Vara? And we're like, and we love you guys. We are such big
but also something to mention, sorry, Travis, actually it's not only Vara, but also ESCA, or now CMA, have also launched or kind of put forward their new digital asset framework and strategy, and that's great to see, because kind of in the country right now you have multiple financial regulators, and all of them are aligning and informing the VASP on what are your responsibilities and what are kind of the do's and don'ts at the same time. And it's very important to be in a space where you know where to head when you need something, and how to be regulated also in a particular manner, and protect client assets at the same time.
Yeah, it's great to see how the framework is coming together, especially with ESCA, CMA announcing that they are looking into securitized tokens, so they're stepping away from real estate, which I think gives you a lot of regulatory clarity. Travis, on that.
You know, so that's one reason that I did come here to Dubai is, you know, MultiBank Group has 18 licenses across all of these different regions. And so it is interesting to see how the different regions are interacting with different things, right? And now when we talk specifically around crypto here with Vara, and then they also, so some things are applicable with Vara, and then they also have ARVA, which is another thing, so that's like another crypto light, you have to get that, and then they're just going to be switching the acronyms around. They need to create Rava or Rave, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but I do think it's interesting, but it's more regulated here. You would think when you come, you're like, oh, Dubai, that's going to be the Wild West for crypto, the best place to go. And I think that what it is, it's companies and the government and these regulators kind of trying to figure it all out, because this was a new nascent space, and so a lot of these countries still don't have any rules. They don't have any regulators there, and so you know we're licensed with Australia we have an ASIC license, and then Vara, and then all the other ones with the TradFi side of things. So it's interesting to see what they're doing here, and I think they're getting it mostly right. I think that, when you are a regulator, you make sure you got to kind of hammer some people to show that you're doing a good job. But I think that, they want to make sure that everybody's on the up and up, because seriously though, crypto, there are some shady people up in crypto. And now with AI's capabilities and some of these things, like the scammers are getting, like April was probably the worst month ever for some of this stuff, right, in crypto, because now these new powerful AI models are coming out, and it's a wild world. But I think that we need to have these regulations, but we also need to make sure that we have hardened security. That's really important now, because people are losing their tail in this world, and so we got to make sure, using somebody like Hacken over here with Dima. I've known this dude since 2018. I went to Ukraine a couple times speaking at his events, and you got to make sure your stuff's locked down, because if there's one little vulnerability, these AI tools will probably find it, if not now, in the next 6 months for sure. And guess what? It's not just Claude Mythos that's coming. It's not just ChatGPT 5.5. China's building new models. DeepSeek 4 just came out. And some of these other models we probably don't even know about that's why we're seeing all these crazy vulnerabilities happening right now, probably.
Yeah, one thing which you said is
Drop the mic.
Yeah, so the misconception in West about Dubai being a wild west, we get that a lot. Like when we see clients who don't know anything about the region, they come in, they speak to us, and the first thing they're like, we can do anything, and getting bar licenses, you do it in a week, and you're set to go. That's one of the biggest misconceptions out there.
Yeah, we get the 6 week to get a license very often.
Yeah, so that's something that's out there. I don't know why that is, because VAR's done such a good job, and we had a panel earlier where they did say that, we are a principles-based regulator, so even the tech might be evolving too fast for us, but because of our principle-based regulations, we're still there to protect. And I think that's something which is just wonderful that what Dubai is doing.
100%. And I make flippant comments about VARA because I like them. But I think one thing that they do, and you see this across the entire market, they don't just approve things because of pressure. I mean, some of the projects that they have going on, huge pressure on them to move them. But unless they're comfortable doing it, they don't. And like we see that because we're often the ones exerting that pressure. So like we know that unless you've got everything, like, as Travis said, like wire tight, like it doesn't move. So it's very, very good.
I would recommend one thing. So, VARA has their regulations, and there's certain things you can say and can't say. So what I would recommend is taking that document and putting that in your project in Claude, if you use Claude, and then running everything through that to make sure that you're always compliant. That's one of the things that we want to make sure that we are not saying the wrong. I get compliance all the time. You're marketing. You can't say that. I'm like, what? You can't say staking. You can't say earn. So like all these crypto terms that are pretty common, you can't say them now. And you're like, well, what am I supposed to say, right? That's what it is, right? So you gotta make sure that you're doing the right thing and saying the right thing, because all those regulations are really important.
Fair enough, but I wouldn't rely on AI too much. I think we're not there where you're just running everything by AI and replacing.
You gotta run it through, at least
lawyers.
get another set of eyes on it,
Yeah. Okay, I think we're good on time. Yeah. Okay, so just I think one last question to wrap this up with. Next 12 months. What's the one thing that's making you optimistic about the market and the direction that we're heading in, Joseph?
Yeah, recently we've launched the secondary market. So we were talking about liquidity and how you can make real estate more liquid. So that's actually something that we've put to use. We launched the secondary market. We saw great adoption to it. Unfortunately, a couple of days later, the situation has changed here in the country, and the marketplace went to a standstill because of the servers that were down. However, hopefully next week, or a couple of weeks from now, hopefully, we can see it up and running again, which is great to see. But the point that I'm trying to make is, how do we move a semi-liquid asset class into a word that becomes a bit more liquid? I'm not, and I'm very careful about the words that I'm utilizing here, because we always need to remember the underlying asset that we're investing in, and that's real estate. We're not trying to make real estate Bitcoin, the most liquid asset class out there. That's not the use case that we're trying to prove, but what we're trying to change is how a traditional asset class is being traded. In the traditional world, you own your property, you put it on Property Finder or Bayut or so on, and then you need to wait months. A broker will come and contact you, I want to buy it and sell it, and so on and so forth. You move to the traditional fractional ownership business in the GIFC, we have an SPV model with 2 exit windows, because there's a lot of admin work to change the SPVs. And in the tokenized space, when you have the tokens that are traded 24/7 on the market, you don't need these hurdles anymore. And what we've seen in the weeks where the marketplace was live, people were listing tokens, people were buying them instantly at par value, at discount. Some people actually were able to trade it at premium, because they felt that the price of the property is kind of valued more than what is it actually being valued at, which is great to see. Right? This is how people are essentially dictating how the market is moving. And then later on, what I would like to see, at least in the next 12 months, is our ability to open up this liquidity pool to not only UAE resident but international investors, and who knows, down the line, integrating with more exchanges, more banks, kind of putting that RWA and that token on multiple platforms, so that people can also benefit of exposing themselves to Dubai's real estate market.
Yeah. So one step at a time kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Definitely. I think that we're in such an interesting time and place, right? And so, when we look at those $900 trillion of assets that are out there, how much of those are going to be here in the next 12 months? I think it's going to just slow and steady wins the race on this thing. It's not going to be, you're not just going to see trillions of that on there all at once. Especially when you look at what the crypto market right now total is, like $2.5 trillion or something, right? So it's just a small smidgen. And to me, it's like, this is a slow and steady race. And right now we're entering what traditionally would be a very big bear market, right? I mean, if it was anything like the previous cycles, we would see the biggest part of the bear market hitting sometime in December, right? And so it's going to start reviving. So I don't know that within 12 months, but I think within 18 months, we're going to see some really big revival on this, all black swan events aside, and any sort of vulnerabilities that we might be running up into. But I think that we're just going to see more and more of this happening. More retail is going to understand understand it. Little micro landlords, right? We're all going to be a little micro. Who do you call for maintenance? Or like, oh, which one of these 1,000 people come to fix my stuff? No, but it's an interesting time, and I think that, you know, having seen this evolve and where we are, I know that, you know, with MBIO, which is our multi-bank, with our crypto arm, and with Maverick, our RWA leveled up platform is coming out soon. We have some awesome partnerships, and so it's just really exciting. A lot of people are excited about the space, and people are figuring it out, and so we're going to keep seeing the evolution of that moving forward over these next 18 months and the next 5 years. It could be really big.
Thank you. I think for me, it's institutional adoption. I think for a long time when we're talking about tokenization, a lot of the conversation is how do you sell this into the DeFi world? How do you get all of the crypto bros to start buying this stuff? We're moving away from that. I think especially when we're talking about supply side, we're seeing funds, sovereign wealth funds, governments, central banks, looking at how they can use tokenization, how they can tokenize government bonds, how they can tokenize portions of sovereign wealth funds. It's not a gimmick. These guys don't make these decisions based on hype. They make them based on very real, tangible benefits for them as a business. So we see an enormous amount of this. I think one of the problems that we have as a business is not a deal flow side. It's an execution side, because frankly speaking, there's a lot of stuff coming through the market at the moment, a lot of very meaningful things coming into the market. So yeah, very, very exciting next year. I think the problem is going to be on how do all the companies that work in this space keep up with demand as more and more of these companies, material companies, come into it. And it's not distracting at all. And like execute and like bring real products that are tangible into the market, and just cut out the crap, like cut out all the noise that is around the market.
Yeah, because what makes tokenization different from all the other crypto trends that we've seen is that it's more of a regulated space. There's a lot more regulators involved, and things don't change overnight. It takes a month, it takes a few months to get some licenses into place, institutions come into play, and it's a slow-moving market, which is good, which benefits the industry as a whole, I would say. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. This was
Thank you.
very insightful. Thank you.